that any team outside that top six can afford. All smiles from the Jets as they come out at home, and look how thrilled the mascots are as well. They've been enjoying the AFC Women's Asian Cup for the last 2 weeks, and looking forward to a little bit of homegrown fare back at the number 2 sports ground in Newcastle here as the home team Jets walk out onto the pitch. Let's take a look at how Newcastle line up. It's 3 changes to the starting 11 from when we last saw them, with Josie Wilson, Josie Allen and Alexis Collins into the starting 11, moving Charlotte Lancaster and Lauren Allen to the bench. Olivia Page and Zoe Karapetis are elevated to the bench. No spot in the matchday squad for India Breyer or Hayley Johnson. Josie Wilson is back in the starters. Not only has she not started, she hasn't even played since the 1st of February, so it's been 6 weeks waiting as an unused sub for the 26-year-old defender, who is closing in on 50 career games in the Ninja A-League. Let's take a look at Sydney FC. The last time we saw them was a 4-0 win away to the Brisbane Roar, and they make 1 change to the starting 11 from that game, with Willa Pearson coming in and Kaylee Talon-Henniker moving to the bench. Due to an injury crisis, there are 2 goalkeepers listed among the substitutes. No return yet for either Kirsty Fenton or Shay Holman, who were both close to returning to the matchday squad but have not been risked tonight. Willa Pearson managed to break Sam Kerr's record as the youngest Ninja A-League goal scorer in that 4-0 win away to the Brisbane Roar, and playing as a wing-back, a role we hadn't seen her in at A-League level before. She's been elevated into the starters tonight, and we wait and see if it will be in that similar wide on the right role. Tonight's officiating crew will be led by Izzy Cooper. You can see high fives with the captains there, Mackenzie Hawkesby and Libby Copus-Brown. Assistant referees are Lauren Hargrave and Amber Morris, and the 4th official is Molly Godsell. James Slaveski, the interim coach of Sydney FC, still trying to get that word interim off the title and perhaps prove himself in the job. His assistant coach, Victoria Guzman, who doubles as the senior coach of the Macarthur Rams women in NPL New South Wales, is sitting to his immediate left there. And there is the Sydney FC team huddled up, having one last pep talk. They are without the captain that they started the season with, Sarah Hunter. She's still on the injury list as well. And there's the Newcastle Jets. Their form has been inconsistent this season. It does appear as though on a bit of a blustery evening they might have won the toss, and they definitely had some bad memories going against the wind when they were at home against the Wellington Phoenix about 5 weeks ago. Getting ambushed 4-0 down at half-time. Looks as though Sydney FC might be the ones playing into the wind in the first half. We'll see if it does have a bearing on the game or not. So Newcastle, Melina Reyes scored the last time these teams met at Leichhardt Oval. They come in on a 3-game head-to-head winning streak against Sydney FC. It is the longest they have enjoyed against the Sky Blues. Sydney FC's travelling fans, the Cove, coming up the road, and they're behind the goal. Heather Hinds is defending for Sydney FC in this first half. Can Sydney FC break a 3-game losing streak against the Jets, or will it be a season sweep for Newcastle as we kick off in this A-League women's match, round 19, and back from 2 weekends off due to the extended AFC Women's Asian Cup international break with Newcastle Jets against Sydney FC. And last time the teams played, it was a last-minute winner for Newcastle at Leichhardt Oval. Charlotte Lancaster, who scored that winning goal, is sitting on the bench tonight, so maybe we'll see her later on. But for now, it's all about setting the tone. I think both teams would be acutely aware that a draw might mean mutually assured destruction in the top 6 race, so they'll be desperate to win, and that might lead to a very attacking game, and neither side settling for a draw as the match goes on. Here's Georgia Ritchie still starting in goal with Anna Leet, the New Zealand international, still out. It's been 5 consecutive games now without the Kiwi stopper for Newcastle, but Ritchie aspiring to make the young Matildas under-20 national team, still between the sticks. Here's Sophie Hoban on a run, and the Jets looking for a perfect start as Josie Allen receives the pass, lifts in the cross, and it flashes through the penalty area. Alexis Collins was the target in the middle, but Abby Lemon escapes with the ball over at left back. And Lemon confronted by Emma Dundas as the ball runs out for a Sydney throw. The voice you can hear carrying there is the English accent of Stephen Hoyle, the Newcastle Jets coach. Certainly hasn't lost it after 10 years in New Zealand and now almost one full A-League women's season in Australia. Little shove in the back here from Jodie Ukeckel, the American, conceding the free kick, taken quickly. Ukeckel wearing the long sleeves tonight. Here's Emma Bates, misplaced pass. Ukeckel, now Tori Chimeth. Doesn't want to venture forward too quickly. A touch for Willa Pearson. Here's the weather. It's a cool night, a blustery night. Newcastle defeated Sydney FC 1-0 at the number 2 sports ground last season, right around this time of the home and away as well, thanks to a goal from Sheridan Gallagher. What a run from Claire Corbett, nearly linking up with the pass from Abby Lemon. The central midfielder advancing there, but the Jets' defence covers. Josie Allen able to wriggle away from Willa Pearson in a burst of acceleration. Now Melina Ayres, the return ball, and it nicks off Pearson, who then plays it safe and puts it out for a throw. But Josie Allen showing what she can do over on that left wing. And you can see from the shirts and the hair of the players just how strong that wind is favouring the left of screen. Alexis Collins. Now Emma Bates. Libby Copus-Brown. Still no Cassidy Davis for Newcastle, who's been battling injury and has only played intermittently through the course of the season. So Copus-Brown has really become comfortable wearing that captain's armband. Josie Wilson back to her goalkeeper, Georgia Ritchie. Bates. Incisive pass, gets the better of Collins. Melina Ayres able to keep the attack going. Josie Allen has been sprightly already. Allen advancing, and then not quite on the same wavelength as Sophie Hoban. It will be interesting to see which of the teams come back from not 1 but 2 weekends off a little bit sharper. The way that international breaks are going, it might be commonplace to have 2 full weekends off in the not too distant future. So what the Ninja A-League has experienced in the last fortnight might become the norm going forward in women's football. Here's Riley Tanner, speaking of internationals. And big lunge, but not before winning a foul of her own. Tanner, who was away in Central America and the Caribbean, actually scored for Panama in the international break against St Kitts and Nevis, so she brings good form back to Australia. Chimeth with the long ball. Pearson judging the flight well, but did not judge the run well enough. First offside of the game. Hoban doing a lot of running in the early exchanges. He's going to take on Lemon here. Veers inside. Hoban looking for a pass. Ayres' first time shot and stings the gloves of Heather Hinds. Ayres, who has already got the better of Hinds once this season. And the Sydney FC goalkeeper, 24-year-old American, 5 clean sheets in 9 games. Even though Sydney FC are sitting at the foot of the table, they might be adrift at the foot of the table if not for the performances of Hinds. Here's Dundas winning the ball back. Now Tash Prime. Wilson. Copus-Brown. Claudia Chico. Collins playing back to goal. Tries to roll her marker. It's well defended by Madison Asen. Now a tangle of legs leads to a free kick going Sydney's way. Here's another look at the attempt on goal from Melina Ayres. She's a real specialist at first-time shots, catching defenders and goalkeepers out. That time, bending it, stinging the gloves of Heather Hinds. Here's Ruby Sullivan playing the ball over to Madison Asen, not able to get her Filipino passport in time to take her spot at the Women's Asian Cup, unfortunately for her. The American, who has been trying to secure dual citizenship in order to represent the Philippines at international level. But that is Sydney FC's benefit tonight, because of course she's still here playing in the Ninja A-League. A slip from Tumeth. Here comes Dundas. Decides to go backwards. Bates. Copus Brown. Chico had Lemon right there marking it. Collins doing a lot of work back to goal. Bianca Garlich not letting her advance. Corbett pops a pass back to Mackenzie Hawkesby. Now a switch of flanks. Jodie Ukeckel. Ukeckel showed a lot of the ball to the defenders. It's rolled on for Corbett, and what a good save from Ritchie. Well, if it was onside, that is an outstanding save from Georgia Ritchie. And if it's not, well, she's still shown us how good a goalkeeper she is. Look at that, lunging out the right leg and able to stop what was a goal-bound shot. Hoban, Newcastle slingshotting down the other end. Collins. Chico. Underlapping run, promising from Hoban, but running out of real estate against the byline there. Sophie Hoban gets through a power of running work, trying to break the lines. Hasn't scored yet this season. Did make a later start to the campaign after shrugging off an injury that she brought into the campaign, but up to 12 appearances now. The reigning Newcastle player of the season last campaign. Sydney FC dicing with danger as they play around their defensive end, and Emma Dundas has come in to win the ball, but she's shut down straight away by Sullivan. That was red alert for the Sydney defence. Now Corbett just clearing and hoping that Tanner can run onto it. Bates, Copus Brown. Well, I'd suggest that's Newcastle at their best, but at their absolute best, they take that press and they put it in the net. We saw them beat Melbourne City at Amy Park, scoring goals exactly like that. They might still be on for a goal here. Hoban, the cutback is on for Collins! And it goes wide of the post. And a first Ninja A-League goal continues to elude Alexis Collins. The 18-year-old striker starting tonight in what is her 20th career appearance, but that first goal still won't come for her. Oh, and Dundas and Tanner have tangled in midfield. Copus Brown comes in to try to play peacemaker. And referee Izzy Cooper's got a decision to make. It looks like the yellow card's out of the pocket already, but could there be more? Copus Brown, as the captain, is getting the telling off here, even though she wasn't part of the initial confrontation. So it's yellow for Tanner and nothing for Dundas. And is that a let-off there? Let's have another look. Dundas with a grab, and then Tanner, well, the arm across the body. I think from Sophie Hoban's angle, she might have thought it was across the face. Fine margins. And Riley Tanner escapes with the yellow. Depending on your allegiances, you might have think it should have been red. Sydney attacking in the meantime, but Ritchie, who's already had a confidence-boosting moment in the first 10 minutes, is out diving at the feet of Ukeckel. Still, it speaks to the maybe competitive tension in the game at the moment. Two teams that know their seasons are on the line. And it is worth repeating that there's a big difference between being mathematically eliminated and practically eliminated, because if this game does end in a draw, then These two teams would need umpteen favours, very specific results in certain games. The only answer is to win and then hope for the best. Pearson, Hawkesby, still trying to get involved in the game for Sydney FC. Mackenzie Hawkesby, who did miss a big chunk in the middle of the season with injury. Willa Pearson pushing forward in this new role that she's been cast in under the interim coach, James Slaveski. Chimeth takes the throw in. Newcastle plays it forward for Pearson. Pearson, it's a cross shot, and it didn't need to be dealt with in the end. Ritchie knew where her crossbar was and waved it over without a touch. See, possession is dead square in this game so far. A game that's had some chances, some incident. Chimeth. Hawkesby nearly shut down by Dundas. Instead, finds Newcastle. Newcastle's pass, even on a lush number 2 sports ground surface, doesn't quite hold up for Pearson. Copus-Brown hooks the ball away. Collins, good back-to-goal work initially, but no one following in for the touch. Asen ran into trouble. Now Hoban follows up, and who better on the ball than Sophie Hoban? Sends it over to the left. Josie Allen, runners breaking. Allen whips across. And now Hoban, who started the move, doesn't want to finish it here. And then left it a little shallow for Dundas, who scythes down Hawkesby. Newcastle a little bit helter-skelter as they broke forward there. They had Sydney tracking back in earnest, but ultimately didn't fire a shot. And the move ends on a foul. Chimeth. Dundas. Newcastle really playing with such energy to win the ball back in their attacking half. Here's Ayres, fashions a header, and Hinds gets across. Melina Ayres, it was probably a decision between volley and header. We saw her score what is probably the clubhouse leader for goal of the season last time Newcastle were here at number 2 sports ground. And this time she decided on a header rather than go for another scissor kick or volley. Heather Hinds in the end, even with a full stretch dive, didn't actually get a touch on the ball. Garlich, Newcastle, early release. Tanner running at a curving ball. Chico taken to ground. Look at this, Georgia Ritchie's come sliding out, leading feet first, and the net is open. Claire Corbett turns here and plays it to Pearson. Goalkeeper back in the net. Here's the shot, and it's in from Hawkesby. Mackenzie Hawkesby has the finishing touch, and Sydney FC lead away in Newcastle. It was a chaotic phase of play, and Riley Tanner's hustle really set it up. Georgia Ritchie came out of her area, and Claire Corbett here, no thoughts of shooting with the goalkeeper out. Pearson similar, and Mackenzie Hawkesby decided, even with the goalkeeper back in the net, she'd back herself to put it in the bottom left corner, and that's exactly where it went. That is Hawkesby's 4th career goal against Newcastle. She loves playing against the Jets. That's 4 in 10 head-to-head, and her 3rd goal of the campaign this season. And so Sydney FC lead. And you have to say it was Riley Tanner's charge down on Claudia Chico to spill the ball that even lured Georgia Ritchie out of her penalty area to begin with. And maybe Tanner, who perhaps the Newcastle fans might argue is a little fortunate to still be on the pitch. has done the hard work bringing about the opening goal. Through ball here, Pearson off and running. Of course, Sydney FC, the international break came at a bad time for them. They won away at Brisbane Roar and won in style. Here's Newcastle. You can see the confidence flowing through them now that they have won. Garlich getting forward and Richie right back on the task at hand, diving out onto the ball. Allen. How will the Jets respond as the home side? Of course, they came from behind to beat Perth last time out. Foul here on Garlich, though. Sydney FC free kick. Let's take another look. Pearson gets the assist. Mackenzie Hawkesby, first time finish. Even a little glance off the inside of the post on the way in. Couldn't have placed it any better for career goal number 28 in the Ninja A-League for Mackenzie Hawkesby. And now Sydney on top in general play as well. Pearson plays it to Garlich, starting to get a few more touches, the central midfielder. Hawkesby. Now Garlich, back to Hawkesby. And Asen advancing from the centre of defence. It's a compressed game at the moment. Pearson finds Newcastle. Little back heel was clever. Pearson, Garlich. Good football by Sydney FC. And in the end, Garlich decided to have a go. But the goalkeeper had the angles covered. Of course, this is one of two games being played concurrently, and the away team leads in both of them. Perth Glory have taken a 1-0 lead away to Adelaide United at Coopers Stadium, thanks to a goal from Roller Badawia. Hoban, body checked by Sullivan. Just a foul. No thoughts of reaching for the cards again from the referee. Chico plays the pass to Hoban, back up and running immediately. Chico gets the better of Lemon, all about the cutback now, and the shot is fired straight at Hins. Collins struck it with power, but couldn't put it out of the goalkeeper's reach. Good play from Hoban to set up Collins, one touch, and then through comes the right boot with real force. But Heather Hins equal to the shot. Newcastle win the ball back in their attacking half. Ayres on the turn. Josie Allen on a tight angle here, and another good save. Clawed out for a corner by Hins. She's shouting at her defence, getting them to reorganise there. Sydney FC, their own worst enemy with some of these defensive half giveaways of possession. Hins up to 3 saves after this effort here. Right hand out, and Josie Allen was trying to beat her at the near post on the tight angle. So, on a windy night, Newcastle have their first corner. Copus Brown not wasting any time to the back post, and it beats everyone. Did Hins get a touch? She did not. Well, fortunately for the Sydney goalkeeper, she was striving, trying to punch the ball away, but ultimately, no one in a Newcastle shirt waiting behind her. It was her own teammate, Chimeth, who she was trying to jump over there, but the wind, it's the sort of chaos it can cause. Back pass here. Tanner pressing right up to the goalkeeper. No joy this time. Chico. Gotta be careful. Tanner's in the vicinity. Has already been able to affect Newcastle playing out from the back in the decisive moment of the game so far. It led to the opening goal. Richie's clearance finds Collins. She can't link up with Hoban though. Back pass from Lemon. Hins venturing out of the penalty area. passing accuracy very high for both teams. We've seen games this season where one team will be in the 70s and one in the 60s, so the conditions definitely not affecting either side's pass completion percentage. That is a giveaway though. Dundas. Wilson and Pryor. Ritchie with a long ball up the middle. Asen appears to have it covered. Then a miscommunication, and Molinarez is going to pounce! Newcastle draw level. And where Molinarez knows to run, sometimes the ball just finds a way to follow. It's goals away and now at home against Sydney FC this season for Molinarez, and the Jets have tied it up at 1-1. And when Sydney FC review the tape, Heather Hinds and Madison Asen will be covering their eyes, because this was a calamity and Molinarez was in exactly the right spot. And sometimes you've just got to buy a ticket to win the lottery, and Heather Hinds has to reflect on the aftermath. So Molinarez, that is her 7th goal of the season now, 7 in 17. 3 games in a row she's scored, 4 in her last 5. Molinarez has never scored in 4 consecutive games in the Ninja A-League. She does have a couple of 3-game consecutive scoring streaks over the course of her career, but she hasn't had one in a number of years, not since 2023. So perhaps we're starting to see her get back to her best after a season sabbatical last summer, the 26-year-old. Career goal number 43 in the Ninja A-League as well. And Newcastle will be grateful for the gift that Sydney FC have given them here. And now the visiting side have to go back to work. 7 shots on target, and we're barely a quarter of the way through the night's action. It's been a fun one so far. The Ninja A-League coming back with an absolute bang. Stephen Hoyle back up patrolling his technical area now. Ritchie strikes the ball into the attacking half. Asen, no thoughts of a back pass, finds Lemon instead. Hawkesby, now the back pass. Asen, Sullivan. And Lemon, as Sydney FC, if they thought their way through it, Hawkesby pops it over to Pearson, and now Pearson tries to measure it for Newcastle, but Pryor with the back pass is able to intervene, and Ritchie, the step around and then dives on her own clearance. Well, Sydney FC are arguing about a back pass, but yeah, and you can hear James Slaveski shouting it from the sidelines, but you know what? Sometimes as a goalkeeper, just avoid conceding and worry about a back pass later, as we see Tumeth with a crunching challenge. Josie Allen is able to hurdle over. Well, this is a classic You Be the Ref. I'm sure they'll be showing this one in referee education courses. Pryor plays it back here. Ritchie takes a touch and then dives out on the ball. I'm sure an indirect free kick from there would have led to something like a 9 or a 10 player wall. Anyway, it's a moot point, as the referee did not see it as a back pass out there on the field. And it's probably worth mentioning Izzy Cooper is the reigning Ninja A-League Women's Referee of the Year. Corbett, through ball, flag up offside against Tanner. Claire Corbett, 2 assists already in her Young Ninja A-League career. Tonight's only game number 8 for the recently turned 16-year-old. And that was centimetres away from setting Riley Tanner through. James Slaveski, we heard his protestations a moment ago. Ayres turns Asen and wins a free kick. In this sort of wind, you'd almost dare to suggest in shooting range. Asen returning to the centre of defence. Here's another look at how Ayres just got the better of a little clip on the way past. Well, Libby Copus-Brown, who might have been the player to take a long-range free kick, has left this one with Emma Bates instead, who's shaping up to take it left-footed here as Heather Hinds organises the Sydney defence. Bates looking for a teammate in the air and a flick header on. Collins sends it high and wide. Garlich and Corbett. Now Lemon. This time the flag stays down on Tanner, but the defence a lot closer. Chico wins the ball away. Here's where the game is taking place. Primarily, you see from the 40% there, as we stay with Hawkesby to make it 2, and it clips the crossbar on the way over. And Mackenzie Hawkesby perhaps knows that should have been a double. And it's a big let-off for the Jets. It was Ritchie's pass, Copus-Brown with a loose touch, and Hawkesby even into the wind. That one did not come down in time. And so the Jets, it's their turn to count their blessings that the score is only 1-1. Can they respond? Collins, good close control, holding up the ball, but the pass not able to match. And now Corbett taking it in the other direction. Claire Corbett to Jodie Ukekal. The cut across, misses everyone, at least in a Sydney shirt. And Ayres getting back to help out the defence, drives it clear. Decent little, almost a half chance, a quarter chance there for Sydney FC. Sometimes you suggest that both teams look like they can score every time they go forward. I think at the moment, both teams look like they can concede every time they defend. Ukekal leaves the ball behind. Collins waited for runners. Ayres touches it off. Quick head check. Dundas veers left and now feeds the ball through. It's Josie Allen. The cut across. Ayres with the first time finish and puts it wide. Well, that was a slick move from Newcastle there. Breakneck speed. Running downhill with the wind at their backs. Dundas played through Allen. And then Ayres, so often those nestle in the corner. This time not to be. Jimeth being out-hustled by Collins. Josie Allen dispossessed by Ukekal, but Sydney not out of danger. And that'll glance off the back of Emma Bates out for a throw-in. Bates, the 22-year-old, playing only her 10th game, and that's because she spent some time over at Texas A&M in the United States, playing in college before coming back to Australia, where she's now broken into the Ninja A-League. Pass into midfield, intercepted by Dundas through the right, and Sullivan caught in possession, and Hoban makes it 2 for the Jets. They have turned around a deficit, and it is a first goal of the season for Sophie Hoban. And the work of Emma Dundas to intercept the pass in midfield got it all going. And then Sophie Hoban, who just gets through such a power of running. It was an attempt at a clearance from Sullivan, but Hoban was closing in from the blind side, trapped the ball, and then the finish made it inevitable. It was a good pass from Dundas, but Sullivan there just couldn't get it away. Abby Lemon maybe calling for the pass, maybe just needed a louder shout to the young defender there, the 17-year-old Sullivan, to clear. Sydney, again, will unpack it in the post-mortem. For now, it's all about the Jets taking the lead. And Sophie Hoban's 5th career goal is her first of the 25-26 season. And so Sydney FC, who took the lead through Mackenzie Hawkesby, you see there in the 15th minute, have had it cancelled out and then some in the subsequent 16 minutes. And it does not feel like we are done with the goals given the nature of the game so far. Collins able to hold off Garlich. Hoban, confidence flowing off the back of a goal, trying to turn provider for Ayres, not quite. Ever so slightly overhit, and Hins down to the ball. Well, goals are flying in all around the Ninja A-League at Cooper Stadium. Adelaide have equalised 1-1 through Fiona Wirtz. That game, of course, vital for seeding within the top 6. Neither team is safe in the top 6, it must be said, but they're both starting this weekend a bit further up the ladder than these two. And of course, if you're enjoying both games concurrently, 2 tabs open, or one on the phone, one on the laptop, one on the smart TV, don't forget they'll take you right up to Matilda's kickoff at 9 p.m. So that's Eastern time. You don't need to go anywhere. You can enjoy the Ninja A-League until full time and then flip over. Perfect timing for the Matildas against DPR Korea in the quarterfinal of the AFC Women's Asian Cup coming from Perth. And it does feel like there's plenty of twists and turns to come here at the number 2 sports ground with just under an hour of action still to go. The game's fallen into a bit of a lull. Newcastle having very energetically pressed Sydney FC in this game. They have been able to get the rewards and win the ball in the attacking half on so many occasions. Now they're running from deep. It's Hoban again. Collins. And just a couple of steps out in front of the pass. Heather Hins comfortable that time. Is tonight the night for Alexis Collins, though, finally for that first goal in a game with so many chances coming with such frequent regularity. And now a long shot here. Barely got time to do anything else other than stay transfixed by this game. Newcastle with 2 forward thrusts in the space of 15 seconds. Ayres sent that one high out for a goal kick, though. See Newcastle winning the territory battle. You'd expect them to with the wind at their backs. Copus Brown. And an infringement here going against Sydney FC. I think Newcastle's arguing against the call unsuccessfully. I've seen a free kick in this sort of territory already. It was a cross from Bates that was headed over by Collins. So I wonder if they'll go for something similar. Here's another look. Jodie Ukekel arguing that it was off the shoulder, but the referee's paid it as a handball. So 2 players in the wall. Emma Bates on delivery. It's volleyed away this time by Asen. Chico, bit of a loose touch, opened the door to Hawkesby, but Bates will drive it forward. Chimeth. Pearson. Heather Hins, a tumbling clearance. Chimeth trying to make it work. Dundas on the scene, as she so often is. Plays it out to Josie Allen, and Pearson stands up in the tackle. Hawkesby. And Newcastle have defenders back. Now you can hear from the Sydney bench that they want their attackers to press, but Newcastle have played through it here. Dundas trying to escape Sullivan. It's a tangle between the 2 Australia under-20 teammates. Sullivan concedes the free kick. Dundas wasting no time, restarting play. Straight to Sophie Hoban. Hoban, a step over, and now through the right, looking for her second of the game. Can't find it. has taken a deflection out for a corner kick. So Newcastle will stay on the attack, and it is just their second corner of the night. It's the first time we'll see them take one from over on the right-hand side. Based on Emma Bates taking left-footed free kicks, yep, you'd expect nothing less than Bates to head over to the right corner and whip this one in on the left foot. So Sydney FC with the net billowing. Bates with the corner in swinging. Hins punches away. It's all Sydney at the fall. Pearson clears. Only as far as Copus Brown. Ayres. And this time a good catch from Hins. Here's another look. Just only the one player in the vicinity, and it was the most diminutive on the pitch in Josie Allen. Not quite an aerial presence to challenge Heather Hins in the air. Dundas pops the pass out in front of Hoban. Hoban to Josie Allen. Allen through the right. The run's coming from deep from Collins. Bit of hustle out there, but Avi Lemon wins the duel and wins a goal kick. Can Sydney pass their way through this Newcastle press? Asen to Pearson. Back to Tumeth. And it's taken away from Hawkesby. Collins on the turn, but it's a blind shot. Didn't quite have the power or elevation to really trouble Hins. Newcastle peppering at the moment. Can they create a clear-cut chance to take a 3-1 lead? As Hoban retrieves the ball. Dundas against Garlich, who wins it away. Corbett. Wilson stepped up. Hawkesby. Newcastle able to turn and face. Asen gets the better of Allen. Madison Asen advancing through the wing. And the cross is straight onto the head of Josie Wilson. Lemon and Chico watches the ball run on to the centre-back in Wilson. Good phase of play from her, the defensive header, and then the clearance. Bianca Garlich is down. Not wasting too much time getting back to her feet. She's another of the players who has come back from international duty, was away with the Croatia women's national team. And just a little bit winded by that collision from Claudia Chico, but nothing beyond that. And she's straight back on the ball here. Battling against the sideline, this time against Hoban. And it's Newcastle who prevail and receive. Well, it looks like it's going to be a free kick rather than a goal kick, so they're going to have to take it from over in the corner. Tumeth. Hopeful pass. Held on one bounce by Ritchie. Good defensive header by Sullivan. Battle ensues in midfield. Dundas. Bates, and the return pass. Emma Dundas. Quick scan of what options are on, but she's going to hold the ball up here and wait, and then run into trouble. And the trouble was Willa Pearson. Pearson caught late by Dundas. Play continues. Hawkesby in possession. Crossfield pass. Tanner. And Tanner's pass intercepted by Wilson. Chico coming back in the other direction. Ayres. Copus Brown. Whose concentration is going to hold up at the end of what's been a very demanding first half. So many attacks, so many shooting chances. And these final minutes could be all important. And either Sydney getting back in the game or Newcastle, if they score again, could be setting up a match-winning lead. Pryor. Pearson intercepts the pass. Buys a bit of time and then sends the ball down the right for Newcastle. Newcastle, a drifting pass that'll be intercepted. Chico had to hustle. Gives possession away. Chimeth. Corbett for Pearson. The teenagers link up, but not able to advance any further forward. So at the end of that really long phase of play, I think Emma Dundas is getting a telling off here from the referee. It was best part of 90 seconds ago, but that crunching challenge that she had right at the beginning of that long phase where the ball didn't stop just gets her a telling off, but no booking from the referee. Captain Livy Copus-Brown being informed of what was going on as well. This time Bates is able to nick in and knock the ball away from Pearson, but Sydney FC still get the throw. Hawkesby. Asen. Now Tanner. Hawkesby tries to roll away from Dundas. Can't find a gap in the Newcastle defence. Josie Allen trying to clear. Sydney FC enjoying a spell in their attacking half here. Tanner. Now Abby Lemon. Lemon taking on Chico. And Chico is grabbing at the shirt of Lemon. Free kick Sydney. And they will have an opportunity, not quite where you take a corner from, about a metre or two in on the diagonal. So could this be Sydney FC's moment to draw level with half-time looming? Mackenzie Hawkesby has their only goal so far. Is she tempted to shoot direct from the free kick here on a very tight angle? Hawkesby. It's a drifter onto the head of Asen. Still there to be won. Pryor, a real physical presence against Newcastle. And Newcastle with a pop-up and under-header that goes out for a goal kick. Here's another look. It was a couple of headers consecutively. Asen facing goal and then Newcastle facing away from the target. Ayres starting deep in midfield. Hoban trying to drag the ball on. Lemon won the ball but then gave it straight to Dundas, and Newcastle trying to break. Across comes Sullivan. Clearance into a 50-50. Tanner able to win the ball. Newcastle with three players on the scene though. Chico against Tanner. Chico, bit of grabbing and grappling, and Tanner of course has to be more careful than others on a yellow card. No arguments after conceding the free kick here. So initial grab on the arm there once, twice, and that was enough for the referee to reach for the whistle. And now it's Newcastle's turn to have a set piece as we tick into first half stoppage time, of which there will only be 60 seconds. So Newcastle's time with the wind at their backs is limited here. Can they make the most of it? Copus-Brown puts the free kick high, and it's catching practice for Heather Hinds. Can Sydney manage the clock to the halftime break here? Hinds rolls it out. Tanner. Garlich. Now Sullivan. Sullivan's pass hugging the line and then eventually finding its way over, and Newcastle aren't in a hurry here. The referee may well blow for half-time as the 1 minute of stoppage time expires. And the whistle does go. So Newcastle in a first half where they trailed to a Mackenzie Hawkesby goal but then we're able to turn matters around. Melina Reyes on the spot to capitalise on a defensive mix-up from Sydney FC. And then a first goal of the Ninja A-League season for Sophie Hoban, able to send the Jets in at halftime with a 2-1 lead. But it was a half with the wind at their backs, and it may be a very different game in the second 45 as Sydney come out and chase the game. As things stand, Newcastle keeping those top 6 hopes alive. They lead Sydney FC by 2-1. So let's jump in to the first half highlights. And this was Riley Tanner able to win the ball, draw Georgia Ritchie off her line. And Sydney kept their heads here. The goalkeeper's out, but there was no urgency to shoot. And even with the goalkeeper back on her line, Mackenzie Hawkesby still put it in the bottom corner anyway. So a bit of chaos, and Newcastle made to pay by Mackenzie Hawkesby. That was 1-0 after 15 minutes. However, the Jets would draw level, and it's a moment that Sydney FC will not enjoy watching back. Heather Hinds clearing it into the combination of Alexis Collins and also her teammate Madison Asen. Bit of a disaster. And Melina Reyes, exactly the last player you would want swooping onto a loose ball in that sort of situation. Able to roll it in and make it goals home and away against Sydney FC this season. And then the Jets would complete the comeback inside of the first half as Sophie Hoban caught Ruby Sullivan in possession after Emma Dundas had already won the ball. The Newcastle press very effective at times in that first half, and Hoban did the rest, netting her 5th career and first of the season, and that gives us the halftime score of 2-1. So let's take a look at some of the underlying numbers. So many shots, 21 total and 9 on target between the two teams. Passing accuracy good. It's been an end-to-end game so far, and it has the promise of plenty more goals to come. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more on the other side of this short break.
Jackpot to $225,000, so make sure you're there at Maitland's fourth round Easter weekend when our team take on Melbourne City. Your chance to win up to $200,000. That's right, $225,000. Thanks for the start. So we'll get Sydney a moment for a chance to win thousands of dollars. But now I've been chosen charity. The Ronald McDonald House. So we'll wait till all that business with NIB gets set. Already all the same green idea out there, bring around the center circle. The chance to Sorry, you're all set. We'll count it down from 3 this time. 3, 2, 1. Radio play.
Live pictures from the number 2 sports ground where the paper plane throw-off is taking place at half-time of this 2-1 game in the Ninja A-League. Home side Newcastle Jets leading Sydney FC. Of course, at the conclusion of this game, you can keep it right here on Paramount Plus and watch the Matildas take on DPR Korea at the AFC Women's Asian Cup. But for many players in the Ninja A-League, there is also an under-20 AFC Women's Asian Cup to prepare for, which will be taking place in Thailand next month. One of the stars of that team, Peter Trimmis from the Central Coast Mariners, is preparing to go to the Asian Under-20 Cup for the second time, wearing the green and gold.
Bauman, Prakash, Trimmis. Peter Trimmis with the shots! The Central Coast Mariners have their equaliser, and it's Peter Trimmis, the centre of everything for them today.
Trimmis does well, really, really well. That's one for the highlight film. Peter Trimmis bends it around the wall.
The last few months for Peter have been very impressive, and very proud and happy to see the individual success she's having. She's contributed to the team at Mariners in a really important way, and that's what I want to see from my position, and seeing her influence games, and obviously all the players. We want to step away from just being a moments player to being a consistent player, and she's definitely taken that shape in the last couple of months, and it's brought a lot of joy seeing the way she's performed the last few months.
I've really enjoyed my experience at this camp. I like coming in and seeing all the girls from different A-League clubs, and yeah, just being able to enjoy ourselves on and off the field. Alex gives us a lot of freedom to play how we want and be creative, so yeah, I'm really enjoying that part of it. Just seeing your last name on the back and that you're playing for your country is something that will never feel real, but something really exciting. It's great having Avani and Tiana in the squad here with us in the Young Matildas. We've grown really close this year, playing together so much and then coming here as well. I love hanging out with both of them, and they're such good people off the field, so it helps us combine really well on it too.
Won the throw, taken quickly, Gomez. Into midfield, shot from distance, oh my goodness! That is extraordinary from Peter Trimmis!
That was a pretty surreal feeling. My dad used to always tell me, like, if you get a chance and you look up and the keeper's out, just take a shot. And for the first time, I actually did it. And then, yeah, going in didn't really feel real, but really happy moment.
That is an absolute bomb near the halfway line.
I remember hitting it and it felt nice off the foot, but then looking up and seeing it actually go in is another thing, I think. So, yeah, really happy.
She's gone another level. This camp's been a really consistent one for her. And that's all I can ask, you know, if you're in the form that you're in club environment, and then you come in and you bring that form into our environment, then you're going to help us elevate what we do here. And for me, there's a clear expectation when we come here and we're representing Australia, we have an elevated environment, and she's a big part of that.
And as soon as she gets the ball at her feet, she produces magic.
One of the fantastic young talents in the Ninja A-League, and this is a look at the fixtures for this weekend. 2 games concurrently on at the moment. Adelaide United and Perth Glory 1-1 at the break. Wellington back at home at Henry Stadium, the new name of the Cake Tin. Melbourne victory against the Western Sydney Wanderers also on Saturday, and the big one on Sunday. Melbourne City against Canberra United, first versus second. As we get closer to sorting out who is going to win the Premier's Plate, that game could be all important on Sunday. Some walking football going on. Great to see the Newcastle Jets reaching out to all members of the community and making football accessible, even for those who can't go faster than a walk. But let's take a look at the goals in this game so far in the Ninja A-League. And it is Newcastle who had to come back after Sydney FC took the lead. And again, Claire Corbett here working with Willa Pearson, the link up between the 16 and 15-year-olds, and then through came Hawkesby to put the ball in the net, but Newcastle would hit back, and the video review will not be kind to this one. Just the miscommunication between Asen and Hinds, and Melina Ayres able to capitalise on an empty net, and that wiped out the deficit for Newcastle. And then Emma Dundas. This pass was intercepted by Ruby Sullivan, but she just didn't clear it. Got caught by Sophie Hoban, who was able to come in and win the ball away. And of course, if you're enjoying the work of the Ninja A-League players, you can start your Ninja A-League Women Heroes digital card collection for free today. Head to aleagues.com.au/heroes to register and unlock 7 complimentary player cards and go in the draw to win one of 3 epic prizes. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can see some examples there of those hero cards. All right, stick around. Second half action is coming up on the other side of this short break, where Newcastle are hosting Sydney FC.
Substitution at half time for Sydney FC coming in field. It's number 9. Jodie Ulrich to be replaced by number 18, Emma Lookmeyer.
Live pictures from the number 2 sports ground, and that's what it's all about. Young fans carefully studying the names of the players out on the pitch and learning with every visit to the Ninja A-League. Stephen Hoyle giving instructions to his captain, Libby Copus-Brown. And Sydney FC have seen fit to turn to the bench at half-time, trailing 2-1. There's the goal scorer, Mackenzie Hawkesby. She'll be resuming the game, but Amber Luchtmeyer is out for the second half and set to take kickoff. She's come on for Jodie Ukekel. So Luchtmeyer, the 19-year-old striker with 1 goal this season, that came in the second Sydney derby, is out looking to bolster the Sydney attack, and they will be going to the left of your screens now with what still looks like a fairly stiff breeze at their backs. Newcastle have already come from behind once in this game. Can Sydney now do it in the opposite direction at the start of the second half? Heather Hinds puff of the cheeks as she waits for the whistle. And we get the second half underway with Newcastle enjoying a 2-1 lead at the number 2 sports ground against Sydney FC in this round 19 contest in the Ninja A-League. Newcastle, as things stand, would be closing to within 2 points. They're going to concede an early corner here through Josie Wilson. Good hustle from Luchtmeyer straight off the bench. Yes, Newcastle, if they do win tonight, would move to 20 points. And Melbourne Victory, who play Western Sydney Wanderers at the home of the Matildas tomorrow, are on 22, occupying that all-important 6th place. Sydney equaliser would change all of that. Hawkesby. In-swinging corner kick and headed out of the 6-yard box. Wilson, the very player who conceded the corner, now with the clearance. Hawkesby, second time ball in. And it's not a goal-bound header, instead a scrap inside the penalty area. Sydney got first head on the ball, but it just had no juice behind it. Hawkesby, third time lucky maybe, not to be. Clearance onto the head of Luchtmeyer from Bates. And Luchtmeyer has come on with a bit of new energy in the first minute of the second half. That was the header there. It just kept sliding from Madison Asen, and it didn't really have any power behind it. Asen, who has shown her ability to score headed goals both this season and also last season with Canberra United, so definitely a set-piece threat. We'll be hoping for more as the game continues. You see confirmation on the score graphic there of that halftime sub. Luchtmeyer on for Newcastle, only sub of the game so far. Clearance here from Ritchie, and Tanner is challenged by Chico. Claudia Chico eventually prevails in the duel. However, trouble here for Josie Wilson. Tanner, well, left the ball behind. Now from a standing start, plays it to Hawkesby. Hawkesby with an in-swinger, and Ritchie saw it all the way, makes the catch. Back to Georgia Ritchie's debut some 5 games ago now. It was defending that very net against the Wellington Phoenix when Pia Vlock and Michaela Woods ran right in the first half and scored 4 goals with a very similar wind at their backs. Get a real gauge of how much both the Newcastle defence and also Georgia Ritchie have learned since that day. The game they ended up losing 5-1. Wilson, decision time here on a back pass, maybe not. The offside flag appears over on the opposite side of the pitch. Both coaches standing, instructing from their technical areas. James Slaveski of Sydney, Stephen Hoyle of Newcastle. 3 minutes ticked by. Both teams back out of the rooms with new plans at the beginning of the second half. Chico, did she control it before the line? Seemingly not. Corbett. And between 2 Sydney attackers pops up Josie Wilson to clear away, playing it safe. Garlich able to roll Copus Brown, fired the shot, Dundas blocked it away. Good teamwork there from Newcastle. Now Hoban runs under the ball. Sullivan still with real heat on. And she's held her ground there well, Sullivan. Defending against Hoban. Hawkesby, great touch, able to give 2 midfielders the slip. And now the pass looking promising as well, but for the second time in just 4 minutes of this half, offside. This time it was Willa Pearson who strayed beyond the defensive line. Still, Sydney come out with some fresh ideas. We know that James Slaveski's only been in charge for a handful of games, but he's really empowered some of the younger players, and they're going to capitalise on a mistake here. Tanner against Ritchie, and Ritchie bravely down at the feet of the oncoming attacker. Newcastle's goalkeeper saves the blushes of those in front of her. And the Jets will forge in the other direction. Josie Allen with a pass to the advantage of Lemon. Sullivan trying to roll away from Chico. And then Josie Allen, a lot of hustle, but just left the ball behind. And now Luchtmeyer striving against Pryor. Firmly hit back pass, but it's off target. Then Ritchie. Oh, risky clearance. Dundas has got to work. Able to turn on the ball. Caught by Garlich. It looks like a foul. Play continues. Hawkesby loads up and puts it wide left. Oh, and that bore such resemblance to the first goal that Pierre Vlock scored at this very venue. Similar territory, similar shot. The only difference is Hawkesby's goes wide. And that is a let-off for Newcastle. Looked for all money like a foul by Dundas, wrestling against Garlich at the edge of the box, but Hawkesby decided to take the ball and shoot. Ritchie, this time selling Dundas into trouble again. And on this occasion, Dundas gets the better of Garlich. So here was the tussle. You see Garlich taken to ground, but Hawkesby was free and just couldn't nestle it in the corner. Might be hair-raising stuff for Newcastle for a minute or two before they can settle into this half. Sydney FC have come out with a bit of a rush here. Hunting an equaliser. Copus Brown backtracking. Really doesn't want to play a back pass and instead finds the safety of the line. Having a little laugh with Amber Morris, the assistant referee, maybe trying to make the case it was Newcastle's throw. Instead, Sydney take possession. Hawkesby, Lemon, tangled with Hoban, who's able to extract herself. Now surveys the options. Chico on the right. Chico with a burst of speed. Tanner in pursuit. Both teams are adamant it's their throw. Happened right in front of the Newcastle bench. The referee is flagging Sydney FC's way. Dundas leaves the ball with Allen. Chico. Ayres looking up at Pearson. Copus Brown. Look at Drifter. Headed by Asen. Garlich plays it to her own advantage. What comes next, though? Trying to thread the eye of the needle to find Tanner. And Chico is first to the ball. Game number 68 for Claudia Chico tonight, only 21 years of age. Lots of game time for her in the Ninja A-League. Lots of defending to be done by Newcastle. Pile up of bodies, the ball cleared. Copus Brown. Josie Allen, back to Emma Dundas. An incisive pass here. Copus Brown, back to the right. And Corbett blocks it out for a throw. Claire Corbett working hard, the 16-year-old. Only her third start of her career. Hoban waited for the bounce. Abby Lemon, you can see her applauding as she planted into the shins of Hoban. Been a tireless worker, Sophie Hoban. It's just the nature of her game. Elite endurance. And she'll still be running hard when everyone starts flagging as the game goes on. Game's become a little bit start-stop. Sydney came out with a burst in the first 3 or 4 minutes, but Newcastle have found a way to halt their momentum. Sydney still trying, and they're going to win a free kick here. Hawkesby got clipped by Libby Copus Brown on the way through. Quickly back to her feet. Just got tagged by Copus Brown. Received a bit of a hospital ball there, it must be said. So a long-range free kick for Hawkesby. Drops lobs it inside the penalty area. Tanner. Back to the free kick taker, Hawkesby. She concedes some ground. Sullivan. Waiting for the right pass. Lemon. Through the right. Tumeth stayed forward from the free kick. Tori Tumeth lobs up the cross, and it's a good catch. Georgia Ritchie stretching up to the highest point to grab the ball in the air. Now Josie Allen bursting forward. Collins, a good turn from Collins. And now Alexis Collins building some speed. Cuts back inside, waiting for support. Lemon just holds things up. Copus Brown. Now Chico getting forward. Chico's cross. Good defensive header from Tumeth. Corbett. Engaged by Bates, and Bates with the stand-up tackle spills the ball. Ayres. Now Hoban with a flick. Oh, that would have been a great finish had it nestled in the corner from Sophie Hoban. Just wide of the target. Ayres saw the run, and Hoban with a little flick of the right foot there, not able to get it inside the left-hand post. Newcastle's first real attack of purpose in the second half. It took 11 minutes to appear, but they ventured forward there. That did look promising. Ritchie. Tash Pryor. Bates brings down a high ball. Again, plenty of trust in Georgia Ritchie, the goalkeeper here. 3 or 4 back passes in the same phase of play. And this time the goalkeeper tries to go long onto the head of Lemon. Dundas aerobically up to the ball. Ayres hooks it round the corner. Collins, good in those close control situations. Allen, the pass finds its way over to Chico. Chico, Alexis Collins, and now Dundas scoops the shot. The build-up play again from Newcastle, looking promising though. Emma Dundas has hit the back of the net once this season. Came in Newcastle's last game before the international break against the Perth Glory. 3 career goals for Dundas. At 18 years of age, she is going to be a linchpin of that young Matildas team going away to Thailand in April. Lemon, square ball, intercepted this time by Hoban. Able to anticipate the pass. Copus Brown. Wilson to Collins. Allen. Asen steps out and wins the ball. Still plenty to do though. Had support from Sullivan. Ruby Sullivan's pass intercepted by Pryor, who can clean things up, string some passes together. Both teams just kicking it to each other. Back and forth at the moment. Tumeth striding through midfield. The defender goes on a run. Tori Tumeth twists it back towards Luckmeyer, and Amber Luckmeyer was trapped offside. Well, good play from Tumeth. Enterprising burst forward from the defender. Here's another look. The offside call and the disappointment of Amber Luckmeyer. Allen, bit of space to work with. Chico's wide on the right. Allen wants the middle. Josie Allen, tumbling shot. Put it wide of the target though. She's had some bright sparks in this game. You know she's got a great turn of speed and burst of acceleration. Young Josie Allen, but finishing touch not quite there on that occasion. Speaking of coming from behind to lead, Adelaide have now taken the lead 2-1 against Perth at Coopers Stadium. Erin Healy with the goal. So on a night where both away teams were in front, away teams trail by the same scoreline, 2-1. Corbett trying to do something about that for Sydney. Pearson waits for an opening. Corbett continued her run. Claire Corbett on the tight angle. Still hustling. Got it back to Tanner. The ball's loose in the 6-yard box and eventually cleared away for the Jets. Only as far as Hawkesby, and Hawkesby puts it over the bar. In the first half, where she had a precise finish amid chaos, this time the shot just rose a little too high. Can't fault the hustle of Amber Luchtmeyer there, but she's taking the ball to the side of the head for her trouble. She's not going to ground, gives a thumbs up. The referee doing the right thing, just coming and checking that Amber Luchtmeyer hasn't suffered any ill effects of trying to charge down that clearance. And she is back in possession immediately. Luchtmeyer can't get much out of Tash Pryor though. Pryor wins possession. Collins and Lemon. Hawkesby. Now Garlich. We've gone past the hour mark. Maybe expect a bit more of a flurry of activity with substitutes now. We've only seen one change in the game so far, and that was Amber Luchtmeyer coming on. It has given a bit of a new dimension to Sydney's attack. Hawkesby defending from the front. Here is Luchtmeyer. See the XG count. Newcastle shading it, as you'd expect, especially when Melina Reyes is shooting into an open net in the first half. Here's Hoban. Jets on the hunt for a third. Collins return ball. Sullivan able to hold up Hoban, as is Asen. They've done just enough, the two defenders. Just enough. As Sophie Hoban tried to weave through both of them. Chico takes the throw in. Collins. Now Tanner rolls away with the ball. Chumeth. Corbett. Over to Pearson. Pearson's pass. Long down to Ritchie. Collins, 50-50 against Garlich. Dundas. Garlich kept her feet. Collins still gingerly getting back up. Here's Corbett. And a misplaced pass on this occasion. Bates. Out to the touchline for Ayres, who keeps it in. And thus keeps Newcastle on the attack. Hoban trying to roll away from Sullivan. Has got Josie Allen in support. Here's Josie Allen. Does she let fly? Cuts inside. Allen, great save from Hins. Well, it would have been a special solo goal from Josie Allen, but Heather Hins, she's made some great saves this season. Add this one to the list. And she's managed to keep Josie Allen off the goal of the year top 10 reel there by finger tipping that one over the bar. What a chance for Newcastle to take a 3-1 lead. Josie Allen hasn't scored this season, 16 games in, and she'll be wondering how. Newcastle still have a corner, and you see there's been not many corners in the game. It's only the Jets' third. Copus Brown looking up at a big cluster of players. Slides on, Ayres. Able to anticipate where the ball was going. Can't put it back into the box though. Melina Reyes going to have another say in this game. Such a lethal finisher, able to turn here. He's got defenders to contend with. Ayres, cross over the head of Hoban, and Chumeth leads the chase. Spills the ball out to the wing. Through comes Bates. Chimeth went to ground. Asen, preventative defending from Sydney FC at the moment, but the Jets won't let the ball go out. They want to keep this attack going. Pryor turns around, back to Ritchie. Seems to be a real renewed confidence in possession from Newcastle in this second half. Sliced here by Bates though. Garlich. Sullivan to Hawkesby, tough pass to control. Garlich gets a second chance. Garlich trying to step around Copus Brown. Corbett from the right side of midfield. Chimeth joining the attack, immediately closed down 2-on-1. Corbett. Mason to Garlich. Cross off the back of Bates. Corbett. Luchtmeyer turning into the box. Amber Luchtmeyer sends it across rather than shoot on the tight angle. However, Chico's clearance brought down by Chimeth. Another cross in. Tanner can't fashion a goal-bound header. She's claiming it's a corner, and the central referee agrees. So it's a corner kick for Sydney FC. And we saw Newcastle withstand one of these earlier in the half. Mackenzie Hawkesby straight back over, ready to take again. Hawkesby. As the ball slides through the box, no one got a touch initially. Lemon came in late and does just enough to win a corner on the opposite side, taking a deflection off Hoban. So Riley Tanner will run over to the opposite side. Newcastle on their last line of defence as Tanner sends the corner high. Defensive header from Pryor. Corbett steps through traffic and puts it wide. Puts it into the support holding up the net rather than the back of it. Kelly Brown coming on here for Alexis Collins, back from international duty where she was full of goals for New Zealand in their 3 World Cup qualifiers. Here's Claire Corbett taking aim at what would have been her first goal, but it slid wide, trying to shoot past all those bodies. She went high and ultimately went wide left. That was Mackenzie Hawkesby's reaction to her young teammate firing just wide. So on comes Kelly Brown. He's never scored against Sydney FC. Does have 9 goals now in her Ninja A-League career as Alexis Collins heads to the bench. You see in the foreground there, Sydney FC have a double change waiting in the wings. Amelia Casa and also Kaylee Talon-Henniker. They're going to have to watch on here as the 11 Sydney players on the pitch defend here against Newcastle venturing forward. Wilson to Bates. Bates, quick 1-2 with Ayres. Hoban. A tumbling cross, dealt with by Lemon. Lemon's pass though, right into the midfield mix. Garlich pops back up and now goes on a run for Sydney FC. Sends it out to the right, Corbett. What's on in the middle for Claire Corbett? Luchtmeyer's ahead of the ball. Corbett sizing up the options, uses Luchtmeyer now. And Tash Pryor, not letting anything past, puts the ball out for a throw-in. Is that enough to prompt the double change? It is, with 20 minutes to go of regulation time. So Abby Lemon is coming off here for Amelia Casa, who scored her one and only Ninja A-League goal at Leichhardt Oval when these teams met earlier in the season. And Ruby Sullivan comes off for Kaylee Talon-Henniker. So 2 pretty aggressive changes, you'd have to say. Lemon and Sullivan in more defensive roles. And even though Talon-Henniker has moonlighted at times in a defensive role, it's safe to say Sydney FC have made the necessary changes to perhaps take a few more risks. Might put Willa Pearson into a more defensive role. But here's Casa straight away, looking to join Melina Ayres in scoring home and away in this fixture. With 20 minutes to go, perhaps that's what Sydney FC need. Their remaining subs, Sky Halmerick, who did score her first Inter-A-League goal in the last game before the international break away to Brisbane. As we see a clearance here. And the other two subs are goalkeepers. So highly unlikely we will see either. Here's Talon Henniker. A couple of touches off the bench for her. Now Garlich, ankles tapped by Hoban. Comes with an apology. No arguments this time from Newcastle. Pryor stepping out from the centre of defence though. Dispossesses Luchtmeyer. Copus Brown to Dundas. Ritchie to Wilson. Now Bates tries to get the better of Kasser and can't. Kasser against Dundas. And Newcastle midfielder able to draw the free kick. Well, a bit of hesitation here. Claire Corbett has capitalised. And the shot goes wide. Well, where Newcastle were able to punish Sydney FC in the first half, Sydney FC have not been able to do so here in the second. It was hesitation from Wilson. Didn't realise Claire Corbett was coming. And Corbett one-on-one against the keeper. Went for the bottom left corner. But put it wide of the target. What a chance to draw level. And with Sydney just having made 2 attacking substitutions, that could have been Sydney rolling downhill towards trying to win the game. Instead, the pursuit of an equaliser continues. Luchtmeyer. Corbett right back to work, chasing here. Clearance from Wilson, only as far as Hawkesby. Garlich. Mason, Hawkesby. Corbett. And now Talon Henniker. Talon Henniker's cross. It's a pop-up and under header. Has to be dealt with, and Chico prevents it going behind for a corner kick. Hooking it out for a throw instead. Jimeth. Half-hearted shouts from some Sydney players on the field and the bench, but Chico did enough. Now Kelly Brown. Hasn't really had a chance to get involved in the game since coming on because all the players been down Sydney FC's attacking end. Newcastle making a forward foray through Dundas. And now Hoban holds the ball up. Emma Dundas continues her run, hurdles through a challenge and holds the ball up here. Allen, Copus Brown, Melina Ayres, Allen again, scoops it over the top. Hoban, clever, Hoban, fantastic! Sophie Hoban's got 2 on the night, and the Newcastle Jets have a 3-1 lead. They just persisted and kept trying. A tight network of short passes. Melina Ayres recycling the ball, and Josie Allen, a bit of inspiration there. A wobbed pass, and Heather Hinds rushing out. Sophie Hoban knew exactly where to put the finish. And she had to wait 12 games for her first goal of the Ninja A-League season. How do you like that? She's got 2 in a single game. So kick-off for Sydney FC. They've got the personnel out there to chase the game, but the task has been made all that much harder. And how about a sliding doors moment? The chance for Claire Corbett, one-on-one against the goalkeeper, Georgia Ritchie, after the defensive giveaway from the Jets. That could have been 2-2. Even though there's plenty of time left on the clock, you wonder if that is enough of a safety net for Newcastle here. 3-1 in front. Or if Sydney can dig deep and find a little bit more, set up a big finish by cutting the deficit back to 3-2. Tanner. Chico. Newcastle. Look at Josie Allen walking a bit taller here. It's going to be a yellow card for Willa Pearson. She's got one veteran move down pat, Pearson, which is if she ever commits a bad foul, she runs away with that looking at the referee. Knows exactly what to do, but just because you're not looking doesn't mean you can't get a yellow. And again, that little burst of acceleration from Josie Allen, she's bought that tonight. Confidence up, she's got an assist to her name. Pearson confirmed in the book. So into the last 15 minutes of regulation. Newcastle cannot fall into the trap of thinking the job's done. There is plenty of time for Sydney FC here. What is incredible is that historically, Sydney FC 21 wins, 4 draws. Newcastle, if they win tonight, it'll be 9 wins, of which 4 have come in a row. What would be a 4-game winning streak head-to-head over the last 2 seasons. Sydney FC want to flip the script. Here's Garlich, hits the crossbar. It dipped late. Bianca Garlich nearly did have the score back to 3-2. It did dip late. Didn't really look like it was going to threaten until the very last second when it came down. Bounced off the woodwork on its way out. Goalkeeper not in the conversation. See Sky Halmerick in the number 19 shirt getting readied. So Sydney came into tonight short on outfielders. Most of the subs are attack-minded players. The only question is who's going to make way? Is it going to be another defender or midfielder sacrificed for Halmerick, or will it be a like for like? In the meantime, Newcastle want a 4th. They want to put themselves out of sight. Ayres with a square ball. Hoban's on a hat-trick, don't forget. And out steps Madison Asen. Asen sees Dundas, leaves the ball with Hawkesby. Casa. Amelia Casa, shooting range, but doesn't get the purchase on the shot there. Of course, it was a brilliant goal that lobbed an elite from Casa when the teams met back at Leichhardt Oval on the 13th of January. Now this is a concern for the Jets. Emma Dundas, who has been one of the absolute keys to them winning the ball back all over the pitch tonight, is down. And the pickle juice would suggest it is just a cramp, but maybe the first game back after 2 weekends off is taking its toll. Emma Dundas spent those 2 weeks off in Young Matilda's camp. Stephen Hoyle wanted to leave the game, and I can assure you that Australia under-20s coach Alex Apakis will be hoping that it is purely cramp and nothing more as well. Looking at the Jets bench, they've got outfield options. Zoe Karapetis, a defender. Lauren Allen, a winger. Charlotte Lancaster, a winger who can play in defence. And Olivia Page, who has been a versatile wide player this season. They don't really have a like-for-like central midfield option in the Dundas role. And a big smile, at least, suggests that she's okay. Here's another look. Was that the moment that, yeah, the cramps started setting in, and she was out of the conversation until a big swig of the pickle juice came out from the trainer. The question is it going to rule her out for the final 10 minutes of the game? The trainer is going to give her every chance of finding her legs again here, it seems. Sydney FC, in the meantime, have Sky Halmerick ready to come on. And it is for Willa Pearson. So the youngster makes way. Maybe the yellow card, the final piece to say that's your night done at 80 minutes. She gets a high five from the assistant coach, Victoria Guzman. And on comes Sky Halmerick, who did, in the final game before the international break, score her first Ninja A-League goal. So she'll be hoping that with 10 minutes here, plus stoppage, she can make it 2 from 2 and get Sydney FC back in the conversation. Eavesdropping on the bench there, it does sound like Emma Dundas's number is up. So the Jets, temporarily at least, down to 10 players. See Zoe Karapetis there standing next to the fourth official. So that'll be one of the changes at the next break in play. But can Sydney make the most of having a player advantage? Right now it's Newcastle on the ball. Chico pushes the pass on. Kelly Brown. Off the ball collision that floored Riley Tanner. Play continues in the meantime. Chico for Ayres. Little back-heeled flick. Hoban. Ayres again. Battling against Casa over the ball here. And then Ayres not able to steer it to a teammate. Instead, Riley Tanner comes away. Trying to launch a counter-attack, but the pass is straight to Pryor. Newcastle in possession, but no interest in putting the ball out to restore 11 versus 11 to let the sub go through. They're just going to trust themselves. Even a player down here. Element of risk to that, of course. Sydney FC win the ball back. Now can they go? Asen sees the run of Talon Henniker. Kaylee Talon Henniker. Can she find the right pass? Square ball. Corbett. Hawkesby rolling, and now the shot is high from Casa. It's a couple of chances off the bench for Amelia Casa. Hasn't been able to put either on the target. And so Emma Dundas, her night comes to an end, and on comes Zoe Karapetis. It's her first minutes since the 21st of January against Adelaide. So in this Newcastle team, it's very even, has been heavily rotated through the season. Karapetis has been waiting the best part of 7 weeks to get a chance back on the pitch, and she's going to get 8 minutes plus stoppage here. Corbett flicks a first-time pass. Karapetis is going to have a touch. No, she's not. Straight off the bench. Going to watch it roll out for a goal kick. Corbett brings the ball down for Hawkesby. Bates leads a foot race to the ball. Chimeth. Hins. Hins' pass found Pryor, but Pryor could only succeed in giving it back to Chimeth. Game is slowed down just a touch. Sydney FC are the ones obligated to try and bring it back to life. Helmrich with a glancing header. Chico clearing to Hoban. Josie Allen. Well, nearly a giveaway. Melina Ayres knocked the ball down but couldn't take possession. Casa. Now Asen. Floored Libby Copus-Brown, I should say. That forcefully struck pass into the head of the Newcastle player. You suspect the trainer's going to be called out here. Melina Ayres quick to come in and check on her teammate. So Asen, look at that, driving it at very close range, and see the force with which it hit the head of Libby Copus-Brown. So you can only hope she's okay. The doctor and the trainer just standing over her at the moment, not paying the closest of attention. So hopefully that's a good sign that she's passed all the initial tests. So for the second time in the last 10 minutes, it'll be temporarily 11 versus 10 for Sydney FC. Clock is really starting to become their enemy now, though. Down to 5 minutes of regulation to go. It'll be a drop ball to restart play here. Drop ball. Coach Brown hasn't been waved back on by the referee. Now she has, so well, it wasn't 11 versus 10 for very long. Kelly Brown. Hoban. Ayres. Tanner runs into Pryor. Chico stepping up. Josie Allen, attempted through ball. Garlich has dropped back into the centre of defence for Sydney. Sliced clearance, but a little too forceful from Chico. Oh, more byplay here. Is Josie Allen going to get herself in trouble with the referee? Riley Tanner has perhaps not endeared herself to too many opponents from Newcastle, and even the hand of friendship there didn't quite work out. Tanner's been on a yellow card since very early in the night. Well, was it friendly or unfriendly? It's the... I think Tanner might have tried to initiate a chest bump there. Ultimately, no cards brandished either way. And it's going to be a swap of the namesakes here. Josie Allen coming off for Lauren Allen. And after a great assist for Newcastle's third goal, it's congratulations for Josie Allen as she heads to the bench, and Lauren Allen comes on for A-League Women's appearance number 113. Just a late cameo at the end of this one. Newcastle with a 2-goal buffer. Back pass here could be dangerous though. Tumeth able to intercept the ball and blocked out for a corner. Just evidence that even the slightest switch off can cause the game to change. And a late set piece here for Sydney. Not much time being spent. And it's Casa with the corner kick. High, spiralling to the back post. Hoban and Tumeth both go to ground. It spills. Garlich was there. Not quite. Pryor got there first. Well, it's been a game of taking chances and seizing on moments. Saw Melina Ayres capitalise on a mix-up in the first half. Sydney FC have not been able to do the same at those little windows of opportunity in the second. Corbett. If they score now, there might still be a hope of a late raid for a draw for Sydney FC. Tanner. Luchtmeyer rolling at the edge of the box and shoots straight at the keeper. They did create a chance, Sydney FC, but Amber Luchtmeyer could not press it either side of Georgia Ritchie, and instead straight into the goalkeeper's grasp. Tanner. Corbett. So this will take us into the last minute of the 90. Sydney FC giving it one last burst. Seeing if they can find a way through. Will there be a lapse in concentration? Not from Pryor, but Hoban was waiting for the ball to run on and then decided, well, if it's not going to, I'll go back and get it myself. And Hoban plays it down the line. Kelly Brown knocked off the ball. Halmerick. And she was fouled late. So even the ball ended up running out for a goal kick. It's going to be Sydney FC well back up the pitch with a set-piece opportunity. The question is, even if they score from it, will they have enough minutes to go chasing? Casa over the free kick. And Ritchie able to run out and pluck the ball, one grab. That will do for Newcastle. Richie's overarm throw colliding with Riley Tanner there on the way out. And the fourth official has shown 5 additional minutes to finish the game. Richie looking a little bit sore. The initial catch, nothing wrong with that. It was the throw out as she ran. And then you see as she hurls it here, just on the follow through, she catches Riley Tanner. Anyway, the goalkeeper all right to continue. Tanner has been able to manage her night, being on a yellow card for most of it. Kelly Brown loses out to Tumeth. Garlich, Lauren Allen, and now Ayres Hoban. This is for the hat-trick. Sophie Hoban saved by Hins, and Kelly Brown will recycle the ball here. No, she won't. Casa gets in the way. Hins with a big save. And now the shot from distance from Pryor. And you can't help but think that should have been a hat-trick to Sophie Hoban. She's going to leave with a double, but one-on-one here against the keeper. Maybe had one more step before needing to shoot, but in the excitement of the moment, decided to take on Hins. Hins made the save. A back pass here. Hins has got to go. Getting a little bit ragged as we've ticked into stoppage time. And Wilson's going to play it safe. Talon Henniker. Asen. Looking for Halmerick. Good defensive header away. Does concede a corner. Chico able to win the ball against Halmerick in the air, but Sydney FC quick to set up. It's Tanner this time instead of Hawkesby on corner duty. Tanner's corner landing on the goal line, and Ayres volleys away. Corbett. Claire Corbett here to the edge of the box. Garlich, Casa, Talon Henniker, Tumeth. Sydney with lots of numbers committed forward. Newcastle with plenty back, trying to plug every gap, cover every corner. And they are now 2 minutes away from the finish line. Mackenzie Hawkesby. Corbett. Tumeth. Casa leaves it with Corbett. Now or never for Sydney, really. Looks Meyer. Garlich. Casa in a yard of space. Not for long. Kelly Brown shuts it down. And Newcastle will drive in the other direction. Brown ran into Hawkesby. It's all seconds off the clock. Sydney facing mission impossible here. Can they score twice in the last minute? Here's a chance. Luchtmeyer taken on by 2 defenders, and they clear it away. Through comes Garlich, and is met in kind by Copus Brown as that drives it out over the fence. Looks as though Newcastle will do enough. They will move to within 2 points of Melbourne Victory in 6th place. That's before Victory play Western Sydney Wanderers tomorrow. And it'll be a nervous Saturday for Sydney FC, because if either Brisbane or Melbourne Victory win, they will be mathematically knocked out of top 6 contention. And on a night where both teams needed to win, it's going to be the Newcastle Jets who've done enough. They will continue to control their own destiny. They're still going to potentially need favours on the road to the finish line, just based on who plays who. Unfortunately for them, there are some games where it at least has to be a draw or one team is going to win, meaning that the gap's going to be that much harder to close, but they've done what they needed to tonight. And they might even get a little boost to the goal difference late. Kelly Brown heading forward. Hoban foiled again. Hins saves, even though Hoban seemingly had a tap in for the hat-trick. And that was the last play of the game. It doesn't take the smile off Sophie Hoban's face. She still had 2 goals and still played a key role for the Jets tonight. And Sydney FC, they are on the precipice of mathematical elimination, if not in all practical reality, probably out of finals contention. For the Jets, though, their season rolls on. And they can look forward to a trip to Brisbane, a trip to Adelaide, and then Melbourne City in the last round. If they're going to make the finals, they're going to do it by beating some of the biggest teams in the competition and gate crashing the top 6. For Sydney FC, it is very much out of their hands, and perhaps the focus now needs to turn to trying to avoid the dreaded wooden spoon. Heather Hins did her utmost tonight. A couple of great saves in there, but not enough for Sydney FC to limit the damage, because Newcastle have prevailed at the number 2 sports ground. The final score, Newcastle Jets 3, Sydney FC 1. So let's get into the action from this game. Back in the first half, it was Sydney FC that took the lead. Riley Tanner able to win the ball, and then some composed play from the teenage combination of Corbett and Pearson before Mackenzie Hawkesby nestled the ball in the net, her 3rd goal of the Ninja A-League season. 15 minutes in, Sydney FC in the lead. But Newcastle would hit back, and it was a demoralising moment for Sydney FC as Heather Hins and Madison Asen got it wrong, and Melina Ayres was presented with an open net. She's deadly at the best of times. Never mind if you leave the net completely open for her. Ayres scores number 7 of the campaign. And then Newcastle would